And now, Davey, I'm going to let you introduce our next guest because not only is he a neighbour of yours, he's one of the great men to ever play rugby league.
He certainly is one of the great men to play rugby league. 211 first-grade games for South and 40 for Canterbury. He won premierships for South in 67, 68, 70 and 71. But he also played in that magical match at the cricket ground as a youngster, like a lot of the South players in 1965 when the Dragons beat them 12 points to 8 in front of the record crowd that ever went to a grand final at the SCG. 119 tries. Don't forget, he played second row most of the time, this bloke, although some said probably played in the centres as much as he played second row. 15 tests for Australia. Should have been a lot more. Somehow the blind selectors didn't see him play in 67 and didn't take him on the Kangaroo Tour. But I see Bob McCarthy occasionally. He's had a couple of knee replacements in recent years, but he still makes sure he does more exercise than everyone else in Coogee, and it's great to have him on the line. Hello, Bob.
Good, Dave. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you, Bob. It's great to have you on Grand Final Day, which is a day that you'd have some very happy memories of. I want to take you back to 65 because people tell me, they said, is that true that Bob McCarthy actually had to leave his car somewhere and walk to the ground? I said, yeah, the crowd was that big and the traffic jam was that bad. That is true, is it not?
Yeah, well, no one realised. Well, I lived in Redfern then, in Lawson Street near the station, and normally we just travel along Cleveland Street. It'd take about 15, 20 minutes. And I left home about 1:15, 1:30, and didn't realise what was happening. You know, just creeping along, and after about an hour, I'm still I haven't come to the Crown Hotel. You know what I mean?
I know that.
This was getting closer and closer. So as I got down towards the bat and ball, the police in the middle of the road there, apparently the car parks were full over near the cricket ground, and they were putting them into the park outside the Sydney Boys High School, and on the other side where the Free Hills are. They were putting them in there, and I yelled out to the policeman there. I said, "Mate, I'm playing. Can you look after me?" And he said, "Park under this tree. There's a big oak tree there. As you're going towards the eastern suburbs on the left-hand side there," he said, "Park under there." And I parked there and left my father-in-law behind. I took off and I was running across the park, and all these people were coming back, and they were saying, they didn't know who I was. They just thought I was running to the game, and they said, "Oh, it's no good going there. You won't get in. And I just kept running, got to Anzac Parade, and I saw all the people. There's about 10,000 people just out the front. And I thought, geez, how am I going to get through that? Anyway, I finally worked my way through, and Bernie Purcell, it was about 20 to 3, and Bernie Purcell was at the gate, and he said, "Where you been?" I said, "It's a long story. Tell you later," and I raced in, and when I got inside the dressing room, I looked out on the ground and couldn't believe all the people were on the ground and on the ground, up on that tower over the other side. They're up that staircase. They're on the roof of the Sheridan stand. And I remember Bobby Moses and John O'Neill had sort of tears in their eyes, and I said, "You all right?" And they said, "I can't believe that this many people would come and watch me play football, you know." Yeah, so I think a lot of people thought that the rain was over for them because we'd beaten them 3 times during the year, once in the pre-season and twice during the year, and I think the people turned up because they thought the rain was over and all these young blokes, all these young kids from South are going to be the new dynasty. And as it turned out, it was only 12-8 to score, but we found out that day there was 2 St Georges, one that played during the year and one that played in grand finals, and the one that played in grand finals nearly took your head off.
Well, you didn't get there 66, which I think shocked a few, but come 67, people talk about the 67 grand final, but most people talk about just one incident, the famous intercept when Bob McCarthy basically turned the game South's way.
Yeah. Well, I could see what was happening. I was with Brian James on the left-hand side of the ruck, and I could see him doing running rucks going towards the goalpost, and I said to Brian, "Better move up there, mate. They're coming back the blind." And I seen Les Johns sort of sneaking up come into the back line, and he's calling out for it, and for some reason Colin Brown, their hooker, got stuck in the back line, and he didn't see me. He just heard Les Johns' voice, and Les was a brilliant attacking player back in those days, and he did play for Australia, and he just got the ball and he just threw it to Les's voice. And as I was moving up, I thought to myself, I might be able to intercept here. Anyway, I kept moving up, and he threw the ball and it was laying in the air there, just waiting to be snatched. So I went up and I grabbed it and I took off, and I thought they'd pick me up because I had a crook hamstring going into the game, and I thought they'd pick me up, or my wingers, like we had Mike Cleary on one wing, who was went to got a bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games, and The other wing was Brian James, and I think he won at North Sydney Gifts, so we had a lot of speed there. Anyway, when I took off, they just sort of watched me, I think, and I took off, and away we went. And as we got over the 22-metre line, my hamstring went, but the adrenaline kept me going, and scored the try, and that was it. When I came up to when I scored the try, I said to Sats, I said, I pulled my hamstring. He said, "Oh, you'll be right. It's only a cramp anyway." By the time I got back to up the other end of the ground for the kick-off, it was half time, and I could hardly walk off. And I said to Clive, when I got in, I said, I'm gone. He said, "No, you've got to stay on there." I said, "No, I'm gone, mate." And in those days, you only allowed one replacement up till half time, none in the second half. And he said, "You've got to stay on." He said, because Cleary's pulled the groin muscle. So he said, we can't hide, we can hide you in the forwards, but we can't hide him on the wings. So he said, you go into dummy half, and Alvin Walters will come back and play like a second row. But when the scrums go down, you go back to second row, and Alvin will go in a hook. So we done that, and lo and behold, Alvin got a kangaroo trip out of it, and I got nothing. So that backfired. But I know if I had missed that intercept, and they would have scored, you wouldn't be talking to me now. I'd be living on a river somewhere in western New South Wales in the caravan, wearing duty hiding from the public.
Mate, what is it about being a South player? They seem to be a club that have just got so much, I don't know, spirit was probably a good word for it, but everyone who plays for them, and anyone who's played the number of games you did, 211 games, it's got to be just something you must look back on and just think, how good. And what about this side tonight? What are you thinking about them tonight?
I think it's embedded in us growing up in the area, because they had some successful eras, and just prior to our era, they had a good era in the 50s with Bernie Purcell and Clive Churchill and Jack Rayner and all their internationals, Ian Moyer and all that. And I think that was growing up. We just wanted to play for South, and I've said it many a time. That when I lived in Redfern, Bernie Purcell, who was a great second rower, who played for South in the 50s and goal kicker and played for Australia, he lived behind us in Redfern, and of a Sunday morning, his mother used to wash his gear and put it up on the old clothes prop and push it up in the backyard, and there was with the number. I think he's number 4. No, he was number 5. Jack Rayner was number 4. His jump would be up with his pair of shorts, and his 2 socks were blowing in the wind. It was like the Australian flag going up. All the people just looking in awe of it all, And I think that become embedded in this. And as these other people, as you said, this era now, they sort of come along and they see all the history in the dressing room. There's photos all around the walls of all the premierships and all that. Russell's done all that with turned into a bit of a museum underneath the grandstand. And I think as the players come in, they're embedded into it, and they just don't want to let down the ghosts of the past and try and keep the record outstanding,
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, Bob? And I just wanted to throw one last one at you. I mean, that we've probably got plenty of people listening to us that remember when Souths was kicked out of the comp, those who marched down Chalmers Street, those who watched on as George Piggins emerged from the federal court and said that we were going to fight for justice, and today justice was delivered. 2014, that was the end of a 43-year premiership drought for the Rabbitohs. What would it mean to all the South Sydney supporters who have been through the tough times, who have been there for the great times? What would it mean tonight if the red and green jumpers up on that stage and they lift the Provan Summons Trophy?
Well, I think it'd be great because, it's, as we all know, it's all tribal now, and a lot of these people that, doing it tough in these COVID times and so on, and, they've had nothing to really cheer for. And the people around the inner part of Sydney there, with Redfern and where the flats are and all that type of stuff, people are doing it pretty tough. They've only got one thing to do, and that is to watch this team run around. And luckily for everyone, that they've been winning and just keep everyone's hopes up, and everyone's in a good frame of mind, even with the pandemic on and people not having any money and all that type of stuff. And it just keeps them going. I remember back when we played, and I used to walk out after full time if we lost, and people used to be crying, and I couldn't understand it at first. And then people just said, well, that's all they got. It was their rugby league club. And, as George said when he won the battle with them, it's just the whole community. There's a lot of people out here, and Penrith's the same. I mean, you see them guys on the news, all them people in the houses up there decking them out in they call it, they do it all in black and that now. I remember back when I played against them, they called the chocolate soldiers, and I don't know where that jumper disappeared to.
I ate a couple of them.
Is that what it was?
Bob, you're an important part of rugby league history and obviously a very important part of South Sydney's history. Enjoy the footy tonight and may the best team win.
Yeah, good as gold. Thanks for having me.
Good on you, mate. Bob McCarthy, rugby league legend and, synonymous with the great game and the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And like Davey said, 211 games for Souths, premiership with the Bunnies in 67, 68 and 70 and 71. A great career. We better take a break. We'll come back and get some more reaction from Suncorp Stadium as we get ready to decide the premiers for 2021, Penrith or South Sydney.